Bueno, pues muy buenas de nuevo a los que estabais en el directo anterior del Persona 3 y bienvenidos a los que, bueno, pues no estabais en ese directo. Como podéis ver en el título y como ya seguramente ya todos sabréis, Xbox se ha visto obligada a hacer esta conferencia guión podcast para aclarar su futuro, dado que ha habido una cantidad de rumores extremos, que siempre los hay, pero no. Estas últimas semanas han sido tan grandes, más grandes que el culo de Isan, y mira que el culo de Isan es como... Se han visto obligados a hacer pues esta aclaración que vamos a ver dentro de en 5 minutos, básicamente. No me queda muy claro dónde, ¿vale? Han dicho que es en... Se supone que en su página de YouTube oficial, en Xbox España. Y en su esto donde la gente ve podcasts, o sea, donde se escuchan los podcasts, pues ahí. O sea que se supone que me imagino que se publicará a las bueno, en 4 minutos se publicará automáticamente como un vídeo que no lo tienen puesto como estreno ni nada, así que me extraña bastante. Bastante extraño. Pero bueno, tendremos que esperar eso un poquito pues nada, a ver si se publica esto y podemos escuchar, porque en teoría es rollo podcast. Muy buenas curiosidades, bienvenido. Muy buenos Delayer. ¿Cuánto tiempo? Muy buenas, Richard. Yo creo, ¿vale? Yo creo que al fin y al cabo lo que una empresa quiere, y lo dijo hoy mismo el propio presidente de PlayStation, es vender juegos. Las empresas ganan más vendiendo juegos que vendiendo consolas, evidentemente. Vendiendo las consolas no ganan nada, prácticamente nada. Lo único que ganan es tener ahí un usuario que va pues a comprar videojuegos en el futuro para esa consola o a suscribirse a sus servicios en su consola. Es lo único que consiguen con eso, tener a un futuro comprador. Ya está. Ganan más vendiendo 10 millones de unidades que vendiendo 10 millones de consolas. Es así. Es lógico. Lo que no creo que vayan a hacer, porque sería pegarse, por lo menos, pienso yo, un tiro en el pie, es sacar los juegos exclusivos en las otras plataformas. Y me refiero a exclusivos del día 1. O sea, hoy sale el Gears of War 6 para Xbox y PC. No, y también para PlayStation. No. No, bro. Yo pienso, ¿vale? Que eso no va a ocurrir. Lo que yo creo que lo que van a intentar a lo mejor es, creo, insisto, ellos son los que mueven esto. Yo, ni idea. Lo que yo creo que van a hacer es, lo que quieren es intentar que el Game Pass esté en todos los sitios. Yo creo que eso es lo que quieren, que se suscriban. Como Netflix está en todos lados y tú te puedes suscribir a Netflix en cualquier sitio, desde tu puto móvil, desde el ordenador, desde la consola, desde la tablet, desde la impresora, te puedes suscribir al Netflix en donde tú quieras. No necesitas nada más. Yo creo que eso es lo que ellos quieren. Que el Game Pass esté en todos los sitios. Que esté en el iPhone, que esté en el Android, que esté en el ordenador, que esté en la Xbox, que esté en la Switch y esté en la Play. Eso sí, a través de la nube. A través de la nube. No de forma local. En la Xbox y en el PC sí que lo vas a descargar local porque están los juegos nativos, pero obviamente en esas plataformas no lo estarían, ¿no? No lo estarían. Así que tendrían que tirar de la nube. Como una película, como una serie, cuando la ves en Netflix, que lo ves a través de la nube. Streaming. Yo creo que a lo mejor por ahí pueden ir las cosas. Creo. Y muy buenas a todos los que estáis llegando, que después de todo esto, pues no he podido ver. Veo por aquí a Luis, a David, a Ferek. No sé si saludé antes al Richard. Muy buenas a todos. Muy buenas a todos. Bueno, ya es la hora, así que vamos a darle a actualizar la página a ver si han publicado algo. Yo no veo nada de momento por aquí. No sé si darle otra vez a buscar. Hello. A lo mejor es que está esto un poco ñordo aquí. Short, Top Videos, Activision, Just Happen, Tyler, Bethesda, Teach. Lista de reproducción creada, subidas. En las subidas yo no lo veo aquí. Voy a mirar desde el PC porque ahora mismo esto es la consola. A ver, vamos a abrir aquí. Y abro esto también por si acaso. No tengo ni puta idea. Yo aquí no veo nada de nada. Estas putas cookies de mierda. Fuera. Tampoco veo nada en el oficial Xbox Podcast de Spotify. No tengo ni puta idea, hermano. Yo no veo nada de momento. Lo tengo comprado, David. Lo tengo comprado desde hace bastante. Ahí a ver cuándo lo juego. Sí, el servicio es beta a día de hoy. Pero es el futuro, al fin y al cabo. Es el futuro. Muy buenas, Feres. Bienvenido. A ver si hay algo por aquí, macho, que ya son las y 1 y todavía no hay nada. No sé, gente, yo no veo nada por aquí. Ah, mira, lo acaban de publicar en el podcast de Spotify. Pero no, en el canal de YouTube no veo nada. Ah, vale, y ahora sí, ya lo publicaron. Ya me sale como publicado. Solo que hay que entrar en el apartado de vídeos. Porque ni siquiera sale como que lo acaban de subir ahora, ¿sabes? A ver. Tiene que estar aquí a la punta abajo, ¿no? Debería estar aquí. Debería estar al lado de este. Voy a cerrar y abrir otra vez la aplicación. Ah, no te preocupes. Que estamos en la consola. Blink. No. A ver, Xbox. Que encima la aplicación de Xbox. Perdón, la aplicación de YouTube en Xbox es una puta mierda. Las cosas como son. Una puta mierda. Vale, ahí me salió porque ahí lo vi. A ver. Se lo acabo de ver aquí, tío. ¿Está aquí? O sea, me sale aquí, pero no me sale. Chaye, ese puto retrasado estos, de verdad, es que. En fin. En fin. Vamos a ver.
Hello and welcome to the official
hello, no,
I'm your host, Tina.
Hello,
and
no.
we have a very special episode today, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm joined by Phil, Sarah, and Matt. Welcome.
Ah, eso está en inglés.
And we're gonna
Ay, hostia, perdón. Que te pongas, coño, te calles ya.
Xbox. We want to talk about game exclusivity. We want to talk about Activision Blizzard now that they're part of our portfolio, how that might be an impact on Game Pass.
Vamos a hablar del futuro de Xbox y solo vamos a hablar en inglés. Nos olvidamos del alemán, del francés, del español y de su putísima madre. Muy bien.
I think we probably would have started with Activision Blizzard. Maybe talked a little bit about the exclusivity with some of the news.
La verdad es que no uso Steam, Naruto.
We've had some unforeseen news that has come out. So let's just go and.
Pero si algún día me conecto, te acepto.
Because I know it's on the minds of a lot of people. We hear from the community, and that's an important input for us. So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles. Just 4 games. Not a change to our kind of fundamental exclusive strategy.
Vamos, que van a ser lo mismo que con el Ori. Ni más ni menos.
We make every decision really with the long-term health of Xbox in mind. And long-term health of Xbox means a growing platform, our games performing.
O sea, que quieren sacar básicamente 4 jueguitos en otras consolas y ya está. O sea, seguramente el Hi-Fi Rush, el Pentium y alguno más así de estas empresas.
So these 4 titles, what are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced plans that are not too far away. As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners. So I don't want to take anything away from those teams. So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out, it'll make sense.
Can we say if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana
Naruto.
Jones?
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Well, what was the criteria in how the team was thinking about selecting those 4 titles?
Ya está diciendo que no es Starfield ni es Indiana Jones. Hi-Fi Rush, Pentium y así juegos más chill. No es el Forza, no es el Halo, no es el Gears.
That we're running a growing platform that is reaching more players, that our games are having as much success as possible. And I do have a fundamental belief that over the next 5 or 10 years, exclusive games that are exclusive to one piece of hardware are going to be a smaller and smaller part of the game industry. And that's not some great insight, because if you look at the last 10 years and what the biggest games are today, it's a natural place. Whether it's one console and PC, multiple consoles, mobile console and PC, you see big games landing on multiple platforms. And we want to be a great platform.
La verdad es que esto es muy gracioso porque es que en estas últimas semanas, precisamente esos jugadores que siempre han dicho vaya mierda y vaya mierda lo que hace Xbox, lo que saca Xbox, que Xbox no saca nada, y al final pues Xbox saca infinitamente muchísimos más juegos que la Play, muchísimos más. Y precisamente esos jugadores, ¿no? que han soltado mierda sobre todos estos juegos son los que han estado en plan con la babita diciendo, hostia, a ver si esos juegos que antes criticábamos y odiábamos, que antes eran un 3 o un 2, una mierda, pues ahora nos interesan, queremos jugarlos, y la muerte de Xbox también, ¿no? De paso.
I'd say 2 of the other games are smaller games that were never really meant to be built as kind of platform exclusives and all the fanfare that goes around that, but games that our teams really wanted to go build, that we love supporting creative endeavors across our studios regardless of size. And as they've realized their full potential on Xbox and PC, we see an opportunity to utilize the other platforms as a place to just drive more business value out of those games, allowing us to invest in maybe future iterations of those, so sequels to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio. And when we don't damage Xbox and we can grow our business using what other platforms have and to help us with that, we're going to do that. And that's really the story behind these 4 games. And last thing I'll say, looking forward, I think there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on other platforms to get them more interested in Xbox. We think there's a good brand value for Xbox.
Bueno, básicamente
no promise beyond that.
Es como tentar a los otros jugadores de las otras plataformas a decir, mira, estos juegos, si te compras una Xbox o te pillas un PC para jugar desde el PC, pues oye, que tenemos juegos cremitas.
Yeah, there's really no fundamental change to how we think about exclusivity. We just came out of Developer Direct, which was
básicamente es como Adán y Eva y la manzana, ¿no? Es como, mira, la manzanita, bebé, come.
Hundreds of millions of people. So it's this kind of We're really focused on a couple platforms and what's going to show up there.
No tiene una traducción automática de curiosidades. O sea, estos son los...
When everybody plays, we all win. These have been part of our strategy. And will continue.
Como ves aquí, no...
Our focus is on how do we continue to grow the games industry by reaching more players in more places. And how do we grow...
¿Tienes el inglés de ellos? ¿Ellos pusieron estos subtítulos o en los que genera YouTube? No te da más opciones.
And then knowing that, how do we think about our first party games?
Y que la traducción, bueno, pues sería...
Yeah, well, to build on what Phil just said, one thing I would add...
Bueno, ahora van a hablar de los first parties y el Game Pass.
That's right.
And the games would sort of tuck in within the
O
platform.
sea, ya dejamos de lado el tema de los
Big games
exclusivos.
like a Roblox or a Fortnite could actually be bigger than any one platform. And that really has
Que
changed
ya
the
está
way we
aclarado
think
una
about
vez
things.
más.
So in the midst of all that, I think we at First Party can come back to sort of some core principles. First, that all of our games will be on the Xbox platform. Second, all of our games will go into Game Pass on day one. And third, we know that Game Pass will only be available on Xbox. So there's sort of starting points for us. As Phil mentioned, there are games today that you can play that only can be found on Xbox. And at the same time, we want to bring more of our games to more players. So we're going to continue to look at that. Kind of moving aside, though, from some of those and thinking more about what does it really mean for the player, to me, the two key things are cross-play and cross-save. Those things allow us to deliver on the promise of Xbox, which is play with your friends where they are, play on the devices you want, play the games you want. So that is really only possible at a practical level when you know that your saves and your player are going to be able to move across all those parts. So not all of our games today are necessarily built to take advantage of that.
Estoy haciendo todo mi esfuerzo para entender lo que dice y es que no me da tiempo de hablar. Gente, no me da tiempo de hablar. Es que si hablo yo no me entero después. Estamos jodidos.
Cross-play, cross-save is like so fundamental to what we're doing, and I think is something that we as First Party get such a good benefit from being so close to the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things, like you said, all of our games are always in Game Pass.
Puede ir por ahí,
And so I'm excited to
Miguel,
announce,
puede ir
with
por
the
ahí.
coming together that we had with Activision Blizzard King, that Activision and Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass, starting with Diablo 4 on March 28th, which I'm super, super excited
Muy
to
buenas.
share today.
Mira,
And it's all part of our
interesante.
commitment to make
Buena noticia.
the Xbox experience
Muy buena, Francisco, bienvenido.
widely available as possible.
No te preocupes que no te has perdido nada importante. 34 millones de personas. La pinga.
Amazing. Can we come back to the
No te has
point,
perdido nada
Phil, you
importante,
mentioned
Francisco.
at the top,
Básicamente
this
diciendo
isn't
que todos los
really
rumores
a
que han
change in
venido, pues,
strategy for us. Can you recap for me how it isn't?
son más,
And I
son muy
thought
fakes.
both Matt and Sarah did a really nice job.
Que van a sacar 4 juegos en otras plataformas, como ya hicieron con el Ori, por ejemplo.
If you take a platform feature like Xbox Play Anywhere, which has been
Pero que van a ser 4 juegos chill. O sea, que no son juegos titánicos, triples A gigantescos.
That does this. That makes it possible for you not only to play with your friends wherever they are, but to know that you actually have multiple entitlements to the games. I think that's a technology I would love to see applied to more platforms. But it is this view that people are going to play Xbox in multiple places. Whether it's play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, whether it's content, community, and cloud, whether it's when everybody plays, we all win. Like we've had different taglines, different strategy, kind of words that we've used, but always with this view that Xbox is a platform for creators who want to reach the most players. Our investments in xCloud, our investments in franchises like Minecraft and now Call of Duty and other large franchises so that we learn how to build those. This has been a strategy that we've been on for, I'd say, a decade. It's not about one device. It's not about games in service of a device, but rather the devices that people want to play on should be in service of making the games as big and popular as they possibly could be. Because really a healthy creator community on Xbox, a healthy creator community in gaming all up, is the thing that all of us as game players should be
Muy buena,
looking for,
Isan.
because that's the thing that will lead to the best long-term success and growth in this
No,
industry.
los directos los hago desde el PC Naruto. Hacer un directo desde una consola es la peor decisión que puedes tener. No puedes hacer bien un directo desde una consola, es imposible. No tienes los programas y las herramientas necesarias para hacerlo bien.
Yeah, as you said, we have shipped games on other
Francisco,
platforms. In fact,
hoy es el día
if you look with the
1604
Blizzard and ZeniMax, we're one of the largest game
en el que no han
publishers on
anunciado
PlayStation,
Silksong,
one of the largest publishers.
A ver si en el 1605 tenemos suerte.
Into the equation as well, and now we're one of the largest publishers.
O sea, la fecha de
on
lanzamiento.
mobile platforms as well, and that's not something
Muy buena, Juan,
that we
bienvenido.
want to back away from. We want to continue to be building great games that millions and millions of people can love, and that they can play those games where they want to go play. But we do understand the business success that Xbox has to have. Us as leaders in this business, the system today, the system that all companies that we play video games from, is a world of you got to be growing your business. Growth in our Xbox business is critical to the long-term health of Xbox. Many people know I've been on Xbox for over 20 years, and I want to make sure Xbox is in the best position for the next 20 years. That means healthy player community, healthy creator community, and healthy business. So when we look at opportunities to allow more people to play, more people engage, more people to buy, more people to subscribe, it's all about putting Xbox in the best position. And our hardware is a critical component of that. The absolute best experience somebody has on Xbox is hardware that your team builds and that people play on. But that's not going to be everybody. We fully accepted that we're going to have Xbox players across all kinds of devices.
So I think a lot of people think about 2023 as this incredible year for gaming. And in a lot of ways it was. There were some really amazing releases that I think we all enjoyed. But what were the signals behind the scenes that maybe indicated how we wanted to look at the future of Xbox and how we kind of keep up with the industry?
Yeah, such a good question. And I think it's, as people who care about the industry, which I assume is people who are watching this, it was an amazing year. Some great launches, some of the games that I think will stand the test of time and people will be talking about a decade from now. But it's an industry that didn't really grow. And what happens when an industry doesn't grow? You end up with some job eliminations, which we had. We had even our own hard decisions to make about building a sustainable business for ourselves, but in no way were we alone in that. When you think about a healthy industry, I want players who believe that they will find the best games on the platforms that they love. I want people who invest their careers in working here to feel like this is a place that they can be successful. And that really is down to being part
Hombre,
of
a ver, Isan, esto no es una conferencia de juegos. No es para mostrar juegos, es para aclarar temas. No es lo mismo.
I think there's an amazing set of games coming in 2024, but if we don't get to growing as an industry, the industry will struggle. And today there's really two choices. How do you grow the industry? Do you say I have a fixed number of players, the players that we have today, and do I find new ways to monetize those players to get more money from the players that I have? Or do you think about how do I expand the business I have by finding new players and adding those to the base of players that already play? Our focus on Xbox for the last decade has really been on that latter point of how do we make sure Xbox is growing for our players, growing for our creators, so those people are finding success on our platform, which will grow the Xbox business and put Xbox in a position to be very strong for years and decades to come.
Matt, earlier you were talking about these growing gaming communities, how they're incredibly large and comparable on such a different level when we think about console audiences. Like you mentioned Roblox, you mentioned Fortnite. So how are we're obviously thinking about our responsibility, our hardware responsibility is supporting the growth of gaming communities. How has that actually shown up for the players? Are there other games we can speak to from our portfolio?
Well, as Phil mentioned, I mean, two of the biggest ones for us, Call of Duty.
Sí, es verdad lo que dices, Miguel, pero bueno, supongo que era un tema importante y querían hacer bien las aclaraciones y dejar todo bien claro, porque no era simplemente con decir no, eso es mentira. No, en realidad no es mentira, es una verdad a medias, muy a medias, con muchos temas
Those
que
two
había
things
que
probably are some of the biggest
dejar claro.
influences on where people choose to play and what devices they choose
Absolutely.
to play.
Yeah.
When we think about on the other side, the
No,
developer
Francisco,
side,
no
just
no es una
any game
conferencia
developer wants
de
their game to
videojuegos.
find the biggest
Estamos
audience possible. That's just the nature of building.
ante
You
la
want people to
aclaración de los
enjoy
jefes de
and participate
Xbox
in what you've made. And I think we're
debido
in a unique position to deliver
al
on
gran
that just
humo
because
que ha
we are a
habido
platform, we build
pues estas
hardware, we've
semanas.
got a first party games group, and then we've got a
Que
system
muchos,
that ties that
muchos
together,
no.
that brings
Hay un
together your
insider
friends,
que había
progression,
dicho,
your
oye, que
achievements,
los
all of
exclusivos
that.
de
And I
Xbox se
think
acabaron,
that's
que va a
really
ser
what has
multiplataformas,
contributed to
¿vale?
the momentum behind some of these games.
Uno de esos
Yeah, absolutely.
dijo
When
esa
you look at-
información,
just step back and you look
se
at the history of the
volvió
industry. We've
súper viral,
moved from a
todo el
place
mundo
where it
hablaba
used to
de
be
eso,
that
prensa,
someone built and launched a
youtubers,
game
creadores
to
de
accelerate
contenido,
hardware,
era el
to actually the
apocalipsis,
things we do with our hardware and with our
todo el
platform
mundo hablaba del
are all
tema,
in service of making those games bigger.
todos
Think
los,
about that across all of the investments we make, the consoles
todos
we
los
build, the
medios
investments we do with things like crossplay, cross progression,
del
things that
otro
we're doing with
bando,
cloud.
¿no? que
How do we
claramente son
actually
del
give
otro
more
bando, aunque se supone que
options
son
to game
neutrales,
creators so they can have the
se
greatest
hacían
success?
eco
I think one of the fun recent examples about this
y
is
se
actually
les notaba como,
you know,
como
Palworld was able to
mordían
launch, they were
ahí
game
al cuello en
preview, they
plan,
launched
sí,
in
sí,
Game
sí,
Pass, they
sí.
also simultaneously launched
Se
in
les notaba el
Steam.
plumero.
So the combination of those things, you know, Pocket Pair was able to have this
Y ese
outsized
mismo
success, and it was the largest
insider
third-party
aclaró
Game Pass launch
que lo que había
ever.
dicho
And that's all
él
because we
era
give
mentira.
creators options on
Era
how they
mentira.
can
La
launch their
información que le
games.
habían
We've got
pasado era
subscription,
completamente
we've got
falsa
retail, we've got free to
y que
play, we've got
básicamente
frame
todo esto se ha
preview, we
montado
have the
por
consoles, we have our experience on PC,
alguien
and we
que
can access
mintió.
all of those things. And when we step
Alguien que
back and we
soltó
just
humo.
look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest level of users on PC,
sea,
the highest level of users
¿cómo
on
y
cloud
por qué?
ever. We have
Es que no es
double-digit growth
normal.
rate on PC and
Después
cloud,
tienes
places where we're
al
enabling
presidente de
creators to
PlayStation
actually
diciendo
reach
que
new
él cree
players
que
beyond the
sus
console
juegos
ecosystem.
deberían
And that's why we're
ser,
leaning into
o sea, deberían
doing
pensar más en las
more
otras
to see all
plataformas,
those
en el
things.
multiplataforma,
We're talking about the role that hardware
sacar
plays for
sus juegos en
creators, for
otras
the games, and
plataformas,
those communities. What
y
about
no
the
se le
role
da
that
tanto
hardware plays for
bola,
us as a
¿sabes?
business for
Y viene del
Xbox?
propio
When we
puto
look at our
presidente.
hardware, it really is, and Phil said this
Y no se le da
earlier,
tanta
it's where you
puta
get,
bola.
like, the most
Cuando
flagship seminal
básicamente
experience
es como
of
si insinuara,
Xbox.
mira, el
And
God
it
of War en
also
Xbox, que no va a
represents
ser, no va a ser, se
development. Our
refiere
developers
obviamente
can build the specs of our
a lo que
hardware,
hace
and
Xbox,
we
sacar
invest to
God
make
of
sure
War a
they
lo
know
mejor
when they
desde el
do
día 1 en
that,
PC.
that the games are going to run great on our hardware, but they're also going to be able to be
Pero como
accessed
no lo
across
aclara,
any stream, any
pues
screen,
da
because
a qué
of all the
pensar,
other
¿no?
investments
Es como,
we make. So we're giving
easy,
them an
easy.
easy way to access as
Pero
many
no,
players as possible.
¿no?
And we
Con,
actually have more
con
creators
esa
right now
afirmación
building for
tan,
Xbox than ever before.
tan
By nature,
directa por el
thousands of them, by nature of those
multiplataformeo,
investments.
pues,
And we
pues
got
no se ha
more to
hecho
come. There's some exciting
tanto,
stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this
tanta bola de
holiday.
nieve.
And we're also
Es
investing
increíble.
in the next generation roadmap. And what we're really focused on there
En cambio,
is
por una
delivering the
mentira de un
largest
insider
technical leap
sí,
we'll
y por lo que
have
dice el
ever seen
presidente
in a
de
hardware
Sony, pues no.
generation, which
De
makes it
PlayStation, no de
better for
Sony.
players and better for creators and the visions that they're building.
And then when we're talking about
interesante,
hardware,
es
too, there's these
interesante.
other considerations that are really important to our community, probably to each one of ourselves as well. When you talk about library, because I want to dig in on that a little bit more. You know, as we talk about cloud in the wider entertainment industry, there's conversations about streaming. How is that impacting how I own my content that I've invested in? So, what can we say about our stance around game preservation?
Yeah, you know, one of the highlights for me of being in this position was getting to stand on stage when we announced the back compat coming to Xbox One. Like, it was fantastic. People were reading the teleprompter before I could read it. I'm a slow reader, and just feeling the energy in the auditorium as we were saying that and online. You know, one of the cues I think us as being part of Microsoft take is looking at Windows and how Windows over decades has maintained software compatibility with things that are built on it. Like, I can still go back and play some of the games that I love playing on Windows from decades ago, and it will still run. And we try to bring that same view to consoles. It's harder in console because the line between what the hardware is and what the game is in consoles is traditionally, it's tighter, which makes compatibility, you end up doing these generational compatibilities that we've built. But I will say compatibility, the ability to not only play the games, but my saves are still there with our cloud save systems to try to keep the services up as long as we can so that people can play, is a tenet of what we are as Xbox. It's at our foundation. And when we look at future hardware generations and what we're going to support, making sure that we respect, which is the word I use, respect the investments that people have made in Xbox going forward is fundamental. And the fact that you get entitlements when you buy a game from us on both Windows and Xbox also means you have the ability to play that game across a multitude of devices, which I think furthers the compatibility of the games that you own.
Can we go back to what Xbox stands for today? I think we've pretty much covered all of the elements, but if you could break it down for me.
You know, when you play on Xbox, what we're saying is you're playing on a platform where you know the biggest games in the world are always going to be. You're playing on a platform where you get to access Game Pass. And all of the games
No creo que hagan eso, Isan. No sé, yo creo que al fin y al cabo el negocio de ellos, o sea, vender hardware no les da beneficios.
Crossplay, cross-save.
Y tienen que invertir mucho, ¿no? en personas para que diseñen y que creen los dispositivos. Si quieres jugar en portátil, en modo portátil a la consola, puedes usar el móvil, usar el Game Pass y usar la nube y ya está. O lo que hace la PlayStation 5, solo que la PlayStation 5 te tienes que comprar ese chisme. Es mediante la aplicación de Xbox, tener la Xbox encendida y le mandas por Wi-Fi, creo, al móvil o a la tablet y ya puedes jugar desde el móvil o la tablet. Solo que ahorrándote esos 300 euros que vale esa falsa PSP y usando simplemente tu móvil o tablet. Ni más ni menos.
It means that the biggest games are going to continue to come to Xbox. And this 2024, the year coming up, we've got more than 10 major releases coming up. Great stuff. Hellblade 2. We've got Diablo expansion. We've got Avowed, Ara, the Indiana Jones game. And there's more in development, which I think we're going to be able to share more about at our June showcase coming up pretty soon.
Well, I guess I should get ready to work on that show. Well, thank you all for showing up on the podcast today, and we'll see the rest of you this June.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Bueno, me parece que nos vemos en junio de nuevo, gente. Tendremos más cosas por ahí. Bueno, pues lo que habíamos dicho, ¿no? Es que básicamente esto era humo. Humo y más humo. Ni más ni menos. Todo va a seguir como estaba, no va a haber ningún cambio. Van a sacar algún juego, 4 juegos dijeron, en otras plataformas. Aún no van a decir nombres. Los rumores, si queremos hacerles caso, que ya hemos visto que no deberíamos, porque son de fuentes dudosas. A lo mejor estos no. A lo mejor estos no. Serían el Hi-Fi Rush, el Pentium, el Sea of Thieves y el cuarto, por aquí Miguel creo que dijo el Grounded, pero creo que ese no está al 100% confirmado, ¿no? O sea, no hay ninguno confirmado, ¿no? Pero creo que solo me suena a esos 3. El Grounded no recuerdo haberlo leído. Aclararon algo que no había ni que aclarar, ¿no? Era, bueno, pues, no sé, la maquinaria del otro bando haciendo su trabajo, que es desprestigiar, ¿no? Ni más ni menos. No digo que le haya pagado Sony ni PlayStation a estas empresas para que se creara una bola de nieve titánica. Obviamente no, ni de lejos. Pero todos sabemos que cuando huele a carne, estos son hienas, pues ellos van a muerte, bro. Ellos han olido un poquito de carne, un poquito de sangre y se han tirado de huello cuando simplemente que ahí no había nada. Es que no había nada. No había nada, pero nada de nada. Así que, señores, un día más, seguimos como estábamos, sin ninguna novedad. Los juegos de Xbox van a seguir en Xbox, los juegos de Play van a seguir en Play. Y listo. En junio tendremos novedades interesantes. Así que nada, que tengáis buena noche, ya podéis dormir tranquilos. Y nos vemos mañana con el Tomb Raider. Y no os olvidéis de darle al like, que os conozco, ¿eh? No os olvidéis. No os olvidéis.